Hey, what's up? This is Zach here at the Austin Media House, Texas, with Michael from 0g.ai. Super excited to be here, and thank you so much for sponsoring this event. Every video that you see here is obviously going to have the 0g.ai logo, and we're going to be exploring their product throughout all of these interviews. But just to kind of jump in here,
Yeah.
how are you doing today?
Well, I came in at 2 a.m., so a little bit jet lagged, a little tired, but super pumped to be here. So already the vibe's pretty great.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone loves Austin that I've had come here or like seen come through at King's Census for the first time. Okay, so kind of diving in, can you tell us a little bit about what your role is at Zero G and a little bit about the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of 0G. So we've got 4 co-founders at the company. What we're building is the first modular AI chain. And the first product we're launching with is the fastest and programmable data availability and data storage network that's in existence today. And we primarily distinguish ourselves by 3 factors. One is the performance aspect. So you may have heard of dank sharding or other kind of data availability layers. They tend to be in the 1 to 10 megabytes per second throughput. We're building a system that's for the future of on-chain AI, where you need tens of gigabytes per second in throughput. And so we've architected a system that gets to that and also costs that are 100x cheaper than what's in existence today. So it's the performance piece, programmability. You want to decide how long to store the data, where to store data, what type of data type to store it in. We make that possible. And then finally, really focusing on AI and helping a lot of those use cases. We're working on things like a decentralized serving network, where, for example, if you have a specific load, through our partners, we find the right GPUs for that particular load, whether it's inference, whether it's fine tuning, and then support all of that. So we're going very far down the AI stack in the future too.
Can you talk a little bit about the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, fundamentally, the easiest way to think about it is how do we get Web3 applications to parity with Web2 applications? Because Web2 applications nowadays, ultra performant, really cheap. You spin up an AWS server, then you have an S3 bucket, and boom, you can build, any SaaS application super inexpensively. Then you compare it to Web3 and you look at something like Ethereum. If you want to store, when we started, a gigabyte on Ethereum was $60 million to do that. And so who wants to store any AI
A little more
model?
expensive than Google. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we get to parity where the only thing that's really blocking us in Web3 are physical constraints like speed of light and so on? So we've built a system where we're on par now with Amazon's cost for both storage and compute as well. And so that's fundamentally the basic system or problem that we're solving on the data infrastructure side.
That's incredible. So I guess for an application, let's say like ChatGPT, that's probably one of the most widely known. How would that work, or would that be a protocol that would work with 0G?
Yeah, so there's quite a host of things to unpack there. So ChatGPT, first of all, is a closed system. And so it's hosted on their servers primarily. So you need to do API calls to them. So theoretically, you could say, well, I want to call ChatGPT from a smart contract. And you can certainly do that. But that's not a decentralized AI system. So the way we think about it is how we start really from the data generation side. Like, where does the data for the model come from? There's companies like Grass, for example, that incentivize people to give you data so that that data can be used for training. Then that data goes through a process of cleaning and normalizing, and then eventually you need to store that data somewhere. That needs to be in a decentralized context. And then eventually you need to execute those models and run inference. That also needs to be in a decentralized context. And so we make it possible that all of these different aspects of the AI pipeline is fully decentralized, fully on chain, versus kind of the closed source version. And so we're truly building more of an open AI, pun intended.
That's super cool. And I kind of getting into the details here. What, like, is it sort of its own blockchain? Are you building on another blockchain? Like, how does that work?
We've built our own blockchain. It's in essence a layer 1, but it's very modular. So the underlying L1 that we settle to, you can determine. It can be Ethereum, it could be another blockchain.
You can determine what L1 it settles to.
Yes, exactly. Because basically, if you're a layer 2 and you publish your data to our data availability layer, then the layer 2 could be a, Binance layer 2, could be a Solana layer 2, could be an Ethereum layer 2, because fundamentally what we do, it kind of goes through our system, and then eventually we write a ZK proof to be attestable to the underlying L1. Just so happens most of our customers are layer 2s of Ethereum, and so they settle to Ethereum as well.
That's incredibly interesting. Can you talk about maybe some of your customers then and how they're using it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a few buckets. So we've got kind of a AI bucket. Many different companies across the entire stack, whether it's data generation to model training to model cleaning. And so we've got customers all over that stack. So working, for example, with Sentient on the model training side, with public AI and Fraction AI on the cleaning side, and then Mind Network, for example, on just the FHE encryption side for these models in terms of when we store them. And so utilizing them across the AI stack. Then there's an infrastructure side where we work with rollup as a service providers like Caldera, for example, or Altlayer. And then there's the layer 2s that we work with. And so we recently announced a partnership with Taiko and Umera protocol, where we're becoming their permanent data availability storage, for example. But we're also integrating with Arbitrum, Polygon, OP-Stack, and so some of the major L2s as well.
That's amazing. I can't imagine sort of the engineering challenges that you might face. How could you maybe describe some of those and how you're able to another way to ask this is why hasn't anyone done this before?
Yeah, it's very difficult engineering challenge because it really requires really deep distributed systems knowledge. And so our team is primarily composed of PhDs on the technology side. And so I'll give you a sense, like Ming, the co-founder and CTO, he spent 11 years at Microsoft Research. He wrote some of the first AI algorithms for Bing, the search engine. He's also a distributed storage expert. He wrote some of the key papers like Tango and Curfew in the space. And then Fan, the other co-founder, he was actually Ming's intern initially at Microsoft Research before they started Conflux together. He himself holds 2 Olympic gold medals in informatics. He's a computer science PhD from MIT, where he studied programming languages, AI, distributed systems, and also is the University of Toronto professor. And so then the team reporting into Ming, our VP of blockchain and our VP of AI, both of them have PhDs. Like the VP of blockchain is a CMU PhD. He spent a lot of time at the high frequency trading firm before also working on some of the code for Conflux. And so, and he also holds Olympic gold medal in informatics. So it's just the type of people that we need in order to build this is a very heavy duty team. And so our core insight is that when we looked at the scaling property is that many DA layers today, what they do is they actually broadcast data across the entire network simultaneously. And so that creates a broadcast bottleneck. And so the slowest node in your network basically determines your network speed when that happens. What we do is we actually segment data into 2 lanes. One is the data storage and one is the data publishing lane. And so by doing that, we move data onto a storage lane first, and then the only thing that we move around are small bits of data like commitments or proofs that basically say that the data is actually available on the storage network. And so by doing that, that speeds things up significantly and creates an aspect of horizontal scalability. So each one of our nodes alone can do about 10 megabytes per second. And then if you have a consensus network that can handle about 5,000 nodes, then you can get to about 50 gigabytes per second in throughput. And so the horizontal scalability plus the optimization kind of lends itself to that.
That's really high throughput. That's really cool. I guess just kind of where are you in terms of how you see the development right now? Like, would you say you're still in like early stages? Like where do you see the product in sort of its life cycle right now?
Yeah, we've released our version 1 of the testnet over a month ago. And so V2 of the testnet is coming out pretty soon, should be in a couple weeks or so. We're very excited about it. We've refactored our storage code. We've also started moving away from data availability sampling to a quorum-based system because of the performance and security that's associated with it. So very excited about releasing that pretty soon. And then we're aiming for mainnet ideally in July. It just depends a little bit in terms of stability and what we find with the new code base. but trying to move super fast. Mainnet phase one, also we're using an off-the-shelf consensus. And then mainnet phase two, at the end of the year, we're actually introducing infinite scalability. So similar to AWS, if you throw up another server, you have more scalability. So we've basically figured out not only can we get a lot of throughput per consensus layer, but we can actually horizontally scale the consensus layers too. And so in effect, you can get infinite scalability that way. And so future proofing for AI applications and other high performance applications.
I can't wait to kind of see the technology progress, and I know a lot of the partners that you've spoken about. It's incredibly interesting, and I think it's really technology that's building for the future, which is going to be very AI driven, and it's very cool to see Web3 leading that. Because there's like this whole narrative like pivot from Web3 to AI. It's like no, like we can do it together.
Go with whatever is
Yeah.
at the moment, sure.
Would love it. Kind of getting into, we're here in Austin, Texas for Consensus. Can you talk a little bit about like why you all decided to sponsor this event? Thank you so much, and kind of attend and participate here.
Yeah, we want to connect with our not only local community, but really global community. And this is a major event for the blockchain industry. And so, we wanted to get the name of 0g out into the public and meet with more potential collaborators. And then two, reconnect with some old friends, like whether they're on the validator side or projects that are building with us or marketing partners. It's just a really great opportunity to see everybody in person, meet them face to face. I've heard today even the phrase like, hey, I've met you on Zoom at least like 5 times. So it's nice to actually see there's like some, dimensionality, some 3D-ness to people. And so that's primarily why we're here, really connecting with our community.
I love it. And you said you got in at 2 a.m.?
I got at 2 a.m.
Where did you fly? Where did you fly from?
I just flew from San Francisco, but yeah, flight delays and so on, and everything else was booked out. And so
I love that's why you're a founder.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Just the grind. Okay, so kind of connecting with people, building relationships, I think is really important in person. What would you say to, I guess, other companies who are trying to build in the AI Web3 space? Like maybe some knowledge that you've gained through your journey creating 0g.
So there's a few aspects that I would highlight. One is what I really love about building on Web3 meets AI. It's not just about the standard, like, okay, what's your business model? Are you just a wrapper on ChatGPT 4? Like, how are you going to survive? It's much more about how do we actually experiment for the benefit of humanity? Like, how do we create models or environments that enable people to really prosper in the future? Because I think that's where blockchains really shine, is to put AI models and agents into a framework where they can't be evil, so that there's the right incentive alignment.
Can be evil. Explain that.
So the easiest way is probably through an example. So let's say 10, 15 years in the future, you have some AI agent running trash collection in the world. And let's say it's a beyond human intelligence AI agent. Somebody asks like, hey, did you collect all the trash today? And then the AI agent says like, of course, like here are all my database records. I've completely done this. And then the person calls up all the other people and they're like, hey, none of this trash has been picked up. So in effect, the AI agent was cheating. And what it was doing is that it's basically saying like, I don't want to do this job, but I'm going to fool you that I actually did it. And I basically went into the database, hacked into it, and changed all the entries. In a blockchain environment, you can't do that. If the condition wasn't met, then you wouldn't have that entry on the blockchain. And so you would quickly see like, hey, none of this trash is being picked up. Like, what's going on? And so that's like a very clear case where you can say like this particular condition wasn't met and you can't change it because on the blockchain it's decentralized, it's trustless. And so that's very, very simple case. And then furthermore, the way I think about it is if you have these societal use cases where you have AI agents running major manufacturing systems, transportation systems, even administrative systems, I'd want to know how was the model trained, how was the data cleaned, what weights are being used in the model, Where's the model stored? What version of the model are we running? What decisions are being made in real time so that I can actually see and kind of govern this particular model? None of that's available to you right now in closed systems. You don't know what version of the model is running. You don't know what experiment is being run at any point in time. You don't even know what the structure is. How many GPTs are strung together to basically create this experience for you. And so in very large use cases, like societal use cases where a lot of harm can be done from one company controlling this, it's vital in my mind that blockchain and Web3 come together.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, blockchain and AI, sorry.
and how I guess how concerned are you, or like how big do you see the threat of this sort of AI sort of like not picking up the trash or kind of going bad, I guess. Like how big of a problem do you see it? Do you see it as more of like, I mean, like a problem with the companies producing them, the AIs, or sort of how big of a threat do you see that? Because I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, if AI is in the hands of a handful of companies and big societal, like lots of humanoid robots are being run by these models, um, what if one company decides like, hey, I can actually take control of all of these humanoid robots and like run the economy myself? So there's a big risk in that. Or you mistrain these models and you don't actually know what's going in them. And then, especially with beyond human intelligence type of models, like how do you then effectively govern them, or how do you do super alignment with these models? It's very hard in non-blockchain systems. And so I am very worried about a future where bad actors could really exploit this functionality.
I guess the counter argument would be is because of how transparent it is and how you're able to see everything, people could then use that to manipulate the system because you could sort of see other inputs, or like I guess how do you kind of get around that? Or
Yeah, if you look at the open source world, for example, like Linux, like Mac OS is basically Linux, and that's an open source system. So I see it evolving more into that direction. Of course, somebody could create a negative like OS that is a honeypot for something, but those things tend to not last over time. Because I really want to see a world where we have full abundance. Like some of my professors are even saying, in 2 generations, human beings might not have to work for a living anymore.
yeah, I saw Elon
Yeah.
Musk said that recently. He said like jobs will be a hobby.
Yeah, imagine what kind of world that would be like.
Right.
Wouldn't that be cool? Because then you don't have to stress out about like, oh, I have to, go to a job, get a paycheck. I hate my job. It's like, well, you can choose your job now, so you should love your job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I guess just kind of as we wrap up here, what do you want people to sort of take away about 0G from your time at Consensus?
Key thing is what we're all about, which is we're building a modular AI chain. Two, our mission is that we want to make AI a public good. And so basically really building the ecosystem around all of that. And I would love to meet any other builders that are building in the same direction and want to partner with us around it. And then three, let's build a better world. Let's build a world that's full of abundance and for human prosperity.
I love it. Let's build a better world. Let's end on that. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much, 0G, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers.
Thank you.